So, hi everyone. I am here today with John Esch. John is a member of an old order Amish church in central Pennsylvania, and he is the owner of Goot, Essa, which is a cheese and food company. And we're going to hear some more about that in a minute. But I asked John to come on, and he was kind enough to share some time with us today. I wanted to talk to him a little bit about his background and what he does. And John, thanks for joining us.
Hi, everyone. Yes, thank you, Eric. Thank you for the opportunity here.
John, let me just start by asking, where are you from, and where are you now?
Okay. I was born in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, and my father was a carpenter up until when I was 10 years of age. He said, there's 5 of you boys. I had 4 brothers, so it was 5 of us. And he said, I really want to be able to own a farm and have the sons grow up on the farm. So we moved to about 150 miles away to Nittany Valley, Pennsylvania. My parents bought the farm, and that's where we spent the next, it's been 45 years now that we're here. And after my wife and I got married, we chose to take on part of the farm. And my brother Jonas and his wife, they took on the other part of the farm. And in the process,
dairy farming, is that correct? Your
dairy farming, that is correct.
Gotcha.
Yes, my grandfather was a dairy farmer, and my father wanted to be a farmer, but he didn't have a way to start right away. But then with the 5 of us sons, he wanted to get back to the farm, so we moved to Nittany Valley, and that's where he spent his career in farming then, and until my brother and I started. After we got married, we split the farm in half, and we took each a farm and have been dairy farming since.
Gotcha. Okay. So you're in Center. Is it Center County? Is that correct?
It is.
Valley is in Center. Okay.
Close to State College, close to Penn State University.
Okay. Okay. And how would that compare to Lancaster County? I've never been out to Center County. What would you say?
More mountainous area. We have valleys. There's the valley that we're in is about a mile wide and maybe 30 miles long. There's some good soil here, but it's not quite the soil quality as Lancaster County. But the price for my father was much more reasonable because of the development pressure in Lancaster. Prices per acre were much more reasonable, and we have grown to really enjoy the mountain country here and the beautiful valleys here in Nittany Valley, also called Happy Valley.
Happy Valley. Okay. I'm sure the prices have probably changed a little bit since you guys moved out there, though, as well.
A little bit. Yeah, when my father bought the farm, he paid like about $1,000 an acre, and now it's up to close to $10,000 an acre in 45 years.
That's pretty amazing. Wow. So that kind of tells you a little bit of how, for a young farmer that wants to get into farming nowadays, it's not the easiest thing to do, is it?
It has really changed from when my wife and I got married 36 years ago yesterday, actually.
Oh, congratulations.
Our peers, almost all of us started in the dairy farming at a young age. And I say my peers, there were 12 of us couples who got married about the same time period, and we all, except one couple, started farming. Nowadays, that is completely reversed, and there may be one young farm family out of 12, and the other 11 are doing, other type of work like carpentry, shop work, but much, much fewer farms, many fewer farms than what we had back 36 years ago.
Gotcha. And what's about the Amish community there? More or less, how many people live there? It's not as big as Lancaster County, I don't think. But
it is not as big, but it has really grown. In other words, there's like 5 valleys here between the mountain ranges. About 5 valleys. There's Nittany Valley, there's Brush Valley, there's Penns Valley, there's Sugar Valley, and there's Nipponose Valley in between the mountain ranges. And altogether, there's about 40 congregations. In other words, about 300 families that live in these 5 valleys here in central Pennsylvania. And when we count how many families, how many congregations were in Lancaster County back in the late 60s, early 70s when we moved here, were now equal to about where we were in Lancaster County at that point.
I see. That's interesting. So, and so those communities, you'd kind of keep connections with the other valleys as well. Out, I
We
mean,
do.
you do. Okay. So, I mean,
We do.
you might go to church in another community out there.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And for example, my son just got married 2 weeks ago, and his
Mhm.
wife came from Brush Valley. My wife, Anna Mary, came from Brush Valley. So the youth are back and forth,
Mhm.
crossing the mountains and, getting together, getting to know each other. So yes, the five valleys really associate very closely together.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Do you have, I mean, do you have any tourist visitors that come to your community? Is it something, do people come in, stopping at businesses? I mean,
They do, not nearly the extent as Lancaster County.
well, nothing's like that.
Uh,
It's like,
it's not that extent, but we do have visitors come, particularly here at the cheese shop. For example, on Saturday, I had several customers here from Penn State. They were in visiting perhaps a child that goes to Penn State, so they were looking for something to do. They came here at the cheese shop to find out what this is all about. So there's some tourists, but not nearly like Lancaster County.
sure. Yeah. Gotcha. John, I want to ask you a couple of questions, maybe pivot and just about Amish life in general, because we have a lot of viewers and readers of the website that you know enjoy learning about different aspects of Amish life. And one of the things maybe some people wonder is being Amish. Is it hard being Amish? Because we look at you from outside, and it's like they don't have cars, they don't have electric plugs in the wall. I mean, and I think some people even take the tack that they just kind of maybe like feel sorry for, well, Amish guys, they must have it tough. Is that true?
Don't feel sorry for us. No,
Okay, all right, good.
we're having a good life. Um, what is it like to be an Amishman in the 21st century? Technology clearly is a big challenge, and even when we started the business here, Goot, Essa, 22 years ago, compared to today, the amount of business that's done online, email, that has really changed. Much less is being done by phone. So, in order for us to be a viable business, we need to also be able to communicate by email. We have a website that we got built about 3 years ago, and I do have a a person who takes care of most of the IT work for me. He has a laptop. He's in the office pretty much every day of the week, Monday through Friday, and he takes care of the emails. Also have another office person that works remotely, and she takes care of some of the emails. So we find solutions to
Mm-hmm,
that.
mm-hmm,
Um, I personally am not comfortable being on a computer,
mm-hmm,
uh, but I will hire someone to do that work for me. And I'm also looking to for the next generation. How can we involve them? How
mm-hmm,
can we how can we teach them the values of and the dangers? I should say
mm-hmm,
the dangers of what's out there on the internet, but still have them grow up to be responsible adults,
mm-hmm,
realizing that this will just continue to change, and in some way they will embrace technology in a different way than perhaps what my generation has.
mm-hmm.
And so it's important for my wife and I to um, instill the values in our children. So even if they embrace more technology, they are aware of the dangers and where that can lead to
Mm-hmm.
um, with what we perceive as the dangers of um, the internet.
Gotcha.
Realizing there's a lot of good on the
Mm-hmm.
internet as well.
I
I
think
do
that's a
realize that.
question. Sorry, I think that's a question people have as well because do Amish people, you don't think technology is evil in itself, right? I mean, is it, how do you look at it? Like when you look at the internet, I mean, I think it's a tool, but there are also, like you mentioned, dangers there. So it's kind of a,
In a lot of ways, in my mind, is not that much different than the telephone was like earlier, like a generation ago. The telephone was quite a technology change for my parents. Um,
disruptive, I think. Yeah.
Disruptive, And then, you could also reach a lot of material on the telephone that was not necessarily productive or upbuilding. So, in a lot of ways, in my mind, this is very similar to what they faced.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to remember the way my parents taught me, and then trying to instill the same values in our children.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Another question about Amish life I want to ask is, sometimes if you go online and you read about the Amish, or you watch some of the television programs that are made, or you can hear some kind of crazy things, or things that are what I would think of as misconceptions. I mean, things like, people might think that the Amish are frozen in time, like they're stuck in the 18th or 17th century. Do you hear those sorts of things? What would you say to that idea? Are you
Oh,
stuck?
we do. We do hear those sorts of things, and particularly when we moved into these valleys in the
Mm-hmm.
early 70s, a lot of the natives were like, what is coming here? These people are very backward. And then as um, we learned to know each other, and they became involved with us, we became involved in the general community. They saw, this is, in a lot of ways, they are no different than we are. In other words, the Amish people versus the general mainstream, we
Mm-hmm.
have our challenges. We like to have fun, we like to laugh and joke, and we like to, but we're also serious. And we also have our heartaches, and we have
Mm-hmm.
our challenges, just like any other human being does.
Sure. Gotcha. Let me ask you, John, about what you do every day now, with the business with Goot Essa. What is Goot Essa, and how did that get started? How do you? I mean, you were a dairy farmer, and I assume you enjoyed that lifestyle, right?
Very much.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. And it was actually my dairy nutritionist,
Mm-hmm.
someone who helps me with the dairy cows. He still helps me. In fact, I had a conversation with him this morning about the ration that we feed our dairy cows, making sure that everything is balanced. And he works with a number of herds around the country, around the world, and he saw the trend with larger herds, thousands of cows, and he kept asking me there in the 90s, John, how do you plan to keep your family on the farm?
Mm-hmm.
What are you going to do here? Because I know that you cannot compete on the same scale as a herd that's 3,000 cows with your 70 cows. You will not be able to compete. So we were thinking, well, we knew we had a quality product, milk, and we came up with the idea, let's get some cheese made. We partnered with a cheesemaker who had learned from his father, an
Mm-hmm.
Amish cheesemaker in Lancaster County, and he taught us the basics. We started selling our cheeses to restaurants, to some cheese shops, and the restaurants really were quite helpful to help us learn what they need. And in a nutshell, they were looking for some more European style cheeses, the cheeses with a natural rind that
Mm-hmm.
they could purchase locally rather than import them. So we're talking cheeses like Manchego, uh, Pecorino, we're talking Camembert, blue cheese, Gruyere style, the European style, in addition to the cheddars, the flavored cheddars, those types of cheeses. So that's where we've now come, where we have 19 cheeses that we produce.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Mm-hmm.
we've made 4 different mustards. We have a number of jellies that pair well with the cheeses. And we've about 15 years ago, we started putting these in gift assortments. So, in
Mm-hmm.
addition to making these cheeses and selling uh, to restaurants and wineries, we now also do gift baskets that we ship nationwide. We have quite a group of people who have learned to appreciate the value in having some really good cheese along with the condiments packed together in a gift assortment.
Gotcha. Now the online aspect of the business, that's relatively recent, if I remember.
Yes, that was because of the pandemic in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
We had been working with 75 restaurants, and with the pandemic there in March of 20, that that dried up to about five almost overnight. With the shutdown, most of the businesses, most of the restaurants just closed down. We did have a handful that kept their doors open and were doing some type of food delivery during the pandemic. But yes, we went from 75 restaurants to five overnight, and we had all this inventory that we were sitting on, and we were like, how can we continue to reach customers during the pandemic? And so in July of 2020 is when we had the website built and launched.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Gotcha. Where does the milk come from, and what kind of milk do you guys use? In because I noticed you have a wide variety of cheeses there, and some are, it's not all cow milk, is it?
That is correct. The cow milk comes from our herd here on the farm.
Mm-hmm.
The sheep milk comes from our daughter Sadie and her husband Sam,
Okay.
about 20 miles away. And then
Mm-hmm.
the goat milk comes from another Amish farm family, Henry and Rhoda Wingard in Tyrone, about 40 miles away. And
Gotcha.
that
So that.
really is our mission, is to keep
Mm-hmm.
families on the farm. So
Mm-hmm.
that's very, very important to us that we do what we can to create a market for these farm families.
Gotcha. And you're also working with at least one family member with your daughter uh, and her husband. Sounds like.
That is correct. And then our son John is quite involved in the business as well.
Mm-hmm.
He's in he, a number of things that he does in the business, including quality control and shipping. Our son Jacob is involved in order fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
And then my wife Anna Mary makes the fudge, the apple butter.
Okay.
My niece Linda makes the jellies, and then we also have several other children who have been involved as
Okay.
we need them, particularly seasonally. Uh, our
Mm-hmm.
youngest son Melvin helps out some as he can in the evening and the Saturdays after school. He'll
Mm-hmm.
help out, and then the oldest children who are married and have left, for example, two of Emmanuel, which is the oldest one, two of their sons help us with the milking on the weekends.
Sounds like it's pretty useful to have a big family then, huh?
Well, there are some advantages. That is correct. And we've been blessed. We've been really blessed with some really nice children.
Absolutely. That's great. John, what is a cheese cave? 'Cause I noticed, I mean, you guys have, you talk about having several cheese caves. And what's that for? Why is that important? I've never, I don't think I've been in a cheese. Maybe I was in one once, but I don't think I learned much about it.
Basically, what we have is three different rooms uh, in the side of a hill here
Mm-hmm.
in here close to the mountain. We dug out right in the hill, and we encased it in concrete. And the reason for the cave environment is the humidity needs to be about 90%. For
Mm-hmm.
the natural rind, these are natural rind cheeses that we are producing in these caves. The cheese rests on wooden boards, and it's encased in concrete. The room is like 14 feet wide, 52 feet long. Is the largest room where we age most of the cheeses. The
Okay.
soft cheeses we have in a much smaller room. But
Mm-hmm.
again, the reason for the cave is the high humidity and the cool environment. About 52 degrees, 85% humidity. And that's where the cheeses will rest on the wooden shelves and
Mm-hmm.
develop a natural rind. After the cheese is brined, we'll put them on the shelf, and that creates a hard skin around the outside, and that will then become a natural rind, which protects the interior of the cheese.
Gotcha.
And the reason the humidity is so critical is if it gets too dry in the cave, the rind will crack and
Mm.
allow unwanted molds to get inside there.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's too wet, it will become a bit more slimy. And then as that dries out, it will also crack and allow, again, the molds to get on the interior.
So you
And
have
the
to keep.
only cheese we want to have be moldy on the inside is the blue cheese.
Okay. Gotcha. I was gonna say.
And that one we probe uh, to allow the oxygen to get inside there.
Uh
And that
huh.
is also in a separate room. That's in a separate cave. So that's one of the three caves is the blue cheese, because blue cheese will tend to cross-contaminate if given the opportunity.
Gotcha. Interesting. So you got to keep it pretty precise there. It sounds like
Very precise.
one keeps an eye on that, I guess.
Yes, in fact, that's Jacob's job,
Okay.
and he does a really
Huh.
good job with monitoring that humidity and the
Mhm.
temperatures in there.
Gotcha. You mentioned the blue. You mentioned some other types of cheeses. What are the most popular cheeses you guys sell, or what are some of your favorites with in your family?
Well, the most popular one really is the Mountain Valley Sharp Cheddar. That's our
Mhm.
aged cheddar that we aged for 3.5 years.
I had it. I think.
Uh,
Yeah. Tasty.
yeah, that's years, 3.5 years. Um,
That's a long time.
yes,
So.
it is, and it's there's a lot of challenges with trying to guess what you'll need 3.5 years down the road. Um,
Hmm.
that's our most popular one. We do have it depends a lot in the markets that we're in. For example, the restaurants tend to want um, a mixture of intensities. They want something pretty intense. They may want something milder. They want something pretty soft, and then they want something harder. So they want different textures, different intensities, and different flavors. The wineries that we work with also are looking more um, for a variety of cheeses. The wineries tend to go with something that perhaps is a little bit more familiar than the restaurants per se. The restaurants seem to want to go with something that's more the European style, whereas the wineries we tend to sell more the cheddar based and those those styles of cheeses. So it depends a bit on the market which ones are the most popular ones. In the gift baskets, a very popular gift cheese, in addition to the aged cheddar, is the old German Weisse case. That
Hmm.
means old German white cheese, and that's a very popular gift cheese. It's a nice creamy, has a creamy mouth feel, a bit of a tang, but it's not intimidating and it's not super assertive.
Gotcha. I like those descriptors. Yeah. It's not. It doesn't. So it's not scary. I guess.
And that is the idea. The idea is
Right.
not to have it be intimidating,
Mhm.
just relaxing and have the people enjoy the experience.
So not like a strong flavor. I guess is that what you mean by that?
We do have some that are pretty intense, but it's the people who buy those perhaps have tasted them before or are familiar with the style and know what they're getting.
Hmm. Gotcha.
And it's important that we meet what the people's expectations are to us. So that's why in the gift baskets we try to have a range where it may be less intense than some of the other markets that we're in. But
Hmm.
here at the shop, we do quite a bit of tastings as well, where people come and they taste the samples and then they make their selections for whatever gifts they want.
Gotcha.
But online, we also have a lot of descriptors, so the people who choose to buy online, they can see the descriptors quite easily of what to expect from this cheese.
Gotcha. Sure.
And while it's not, we're not McDonald's in any way,
Mhm.
having that type of quality control. How would I say? This is a handmade artisanal product, so you have some variation batch to batch, but we
Mhm.
work hard to make sure that the variation isn't too great because the American palate really expects that the experience will be similar. One experience will be very similar to the next, and that's important to us.
Gotcha. Well, I'm learning a lot today, John. So I
Well, thank
appreciate
you.
it. I know it's a big topic, and there's a lot to it. I'm going to ask you in a second where listeners and viewers can find the cheeses. I just wanted to maybe ask because I was curious from your perspective as a business owner, in your business, what is your favorite thing about your business, running your business, having your business? I also want to ask you what's the hardest thing in your.
My favorite is to meet some really nice people out there. There's some really nice people out there in this world, and this business allows me to get out there and meet these people and learn from them. There's some really good people out there, really nice, and I love that part of the job. The hardest part of the business is balancing the work, family, travel. That's
Mhm.
probably the biggest challenge that I have is finding that balance where I'm here for my family and yet delivering for the business what the business needs. So that's been quite of a challenge. I've been a farmer all my life from 10 years on, and to learn how to get into marketing, how to get into sales, how to work with a labor force, a lot of challenges that come with that, and finding that balance of juggling everything is probably the hardest part that I have.
Gotcha. Fair enough.
Been blessed with a really good team here
Hmm.
that helps tremendously.
No doubt, no doubt. Well, John, where can we with Christmas and the holidays coming up? Where can people find the cheese? Where can we look at some of the gift baskets and things that you mentioned?
Online, the website is gootessacheese.com. So Goot is spelled Goot. Essa spelled ESSA. Cheese.com is the easiest way to find us.
Okay, great. All right. Well, I think that's about everything I wanted to ask you today, John. I thank you for coming on and sharing with us.
Thank you for the opportunity, Eric.
So I really
It's
enjoyed it.
been my pleasure. So thank you very much. And if anyone wants to come to the shop sometime, we'd be glad to show you around the shop here as well.
Super, super. I know some people have done that. I actually had some comments for some readers that talked about stopping by and enjoying it. So great, thank you, John. So we'll talk to you next time.
Thank you, Eric. Appreciate it.
Bye. See you.
Bye bye.